Welcome to the Business Outlook Survey press conference call. I'm Tom Elliott with the Public Affairs Department. With me today is Mike Trebbing, Senior Economic Analyst in our Research Department. Today, we're going to talk about what manufacturing firms had to say about business activity in July. First, Mike will give us a summary of today's report.
Thank you. The indicators from our July survey suggest that regional factoring activity picked up this month. All of the survey's broadest current diffusion indexes were positive, and with the exception of new orders, were at higher levels than in June. And for the first time in 4 months, firms indicated an expansion of employment, and work hours were also higher. On balance, the indexes of prices of purchased inputs and final goods prices suggest only moderate price pressures. The broadest indicators of future activity, including employment, improved notably this month and continue to suggest that firms expect growth over the next 6 months.
Thanks, Mike. Let's open it up to reporters with questions. Start with Stephen Joyce from Bloomberg BNA.
Thanks. Two things, Mike. The first is you've mentioned in past calls that the trajectory has been a little unknown because some months have been an acceleration and then some months have been a deterioration. And I'm wondering if this month's results, which are generally positive, tell you that there now is some type of escape velocity in the district?
Well, you're right. We've commented in the past that the overall diffusion index has been bobbing around zero, but at least for 6 months, and not providing clear signals of growth path. At least this month, we've got a second consecutive month of positive number, fairly reasonably high number on the activity index, and at the same time we saw positive readings on all the other broad indicators, orders, shipments, and the employment indexes, and with the exception of new orders, as I mentioned at the onset, was the only broad indicator that didn't increase from last month, but there was a fairly sizable increase in that new orders index in June. So it does look like it's a trend of at least 2 months of positive readings. And when we look at the national numbers too, we're seeing some positive growth in the industrial production index in May and June, and corresponding improvement in some of the regional indicators. So in that regard, the numbers are showing some improvement.
Stephen,
the other question?
Yeah.
Okay, Gina, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thanks for taking the call. My first question is just related actually to the supplement about the Affordable Care Act hiring. And just sort of broadly, what were sort of your takeaways from that? What were some of the surprising things? What are the things that you think were noteworthy?
Well, we didn't really have any any guesses as to what we might get from these numbers. And one thing to point out at the onset is that it's a manufacturing survey, and just for our group of reporters, which we've chosen to be sizable ones, if you will. In our panel, the average response on that special question was about 250 employees per firm. So it's not meant to be a representative sample of manufacturing or the impact of the act, but we were interested in knowing what had happened in terms of to date changes in both health plans and workforce. And the finding was that the majority, if you will, of firms, 72%, it looks like in the question about whether they've made or plan to make changes in health plans. 72% indicated none, that we have already offer health plan insurance to our employees and satisfy the requirements of the Affordable Care Act, which is perhaps not too surprising because of the size of the institutions that we survey. However, we did find some firms on the boundaries, if you will, firms less than 50 employees that were subject to the employer mandate that has since been revised, but we did find that they were binding by these rules, and some had been taking actions already in terms of cutting back or dropping health insurance in some cases. But they were a minority of firms, and the vast majority of firms were indicating that there had been minimal effect. And that's true also on the question we ask about the impact on hiring to date, and also plans to make changes over the next year. So the bulk of the responses were minimal effect, but there were some firms in the categories of effects, and those are laid out in this special question. The New York Fed did a similar survey, and our numbers were generally consistent with theirs. They added a little bit of additional color, but these are the questions that we asked.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that I did find sort of interesting, though, is there are some differences between what have you done already, what do you anticipate doing over the next year. Do you think we're seeing the fact that the delay in the deadline was announced playing into that at all? What role do you think that might have?
I point out that we devised we created the question before that announcement on July 2nd, and I believe we mailed out the forms for the few firms that we have mail responses for, but they received the mail after that mandate had been delayed. So all of the responses reflect some consideration of the knowledge that the deadline of 2015 had been, or 2014 had been changed. A lot of the comments we received, and we received an all impacts going 6 months out. I think that level of uncertainty kind of weighs in on the difference between what's happened so far and what's expected in the next 6 months. There's still an awful lot of questions to be answered about eventual mandate dates and prices of purchased products. So it's a first pass, at least. We'll probably be doing this over time again, and monitoring these firms.
Okay, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Any follow-up questions, Shana?
Nope, I think that is it.
And Stephen, any other questions from you?
I've got two. The first is, I was wondering if the comments you received indicated that the uptick in some of the categories, if not most of the categories, is due to a feeling of confidence, or is it more data-driven?
I think it's a combination of both of those things. We do ask for comments every month, and we received maybe a few less comments this time because the firms were so prolific, if you will, on comments about the Affordable Care Act. But on balance, the comments were consistent with the diffusion indexes that we create. And when we look at the responses and comments by industries, we had more industries indicating growth than declines. And as you point out, the 6-month forecast numbers also look much better this month and have been trending up the last couple months. And as I pointed out in the summary, the future employment number also looked much better this month. So all of those things weigh and add to maybe some improvement on responses to the current side. They're seeing some better numbers or a little more favorable expectations, and that those are all adding to the equation here.
Your second question, Stephen.
My final question is, how do you interpret the inventories number?
I'm not sure. I don't have an easy answer for that, except that number tends to be very, very, very volatile. And we had the increase or the decrease in the index from -6.6 to -21.6 was attributable both to an increase, if you will, in the percentage of firms reporting decreases in inventory. It looks like from 27 to 33%. And also a decrease in the share of firms reporting increases in inventory from 20% down to 11%. So it's a combination of both of those factors, and it's hard to say whether it's drawing down of inventories that were intentional or unintentional. And there were no comments.
I guess that's my question.
Yeah, and there are no comments that can tell us much about that, and we don't specifically ask about intentions or planned or unplanned inventories.
Okay.
You can't say that if there's a slowdown in production because of reliance on inventory or anything like that.
No, I wouldn't want to draw that conclusion. Sometimes it's suspicious, if you will, but I don't have any additional information to answer that question very clearly.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then I have one final follow-up, which is just how many firms responded to the supplement?
Almost all of the firms, if I'm not mistaken. We had, I believe, about 75 total this month, down slightly because of summer vacations and the like. And our respondents are pretty responsive to special questions. Actually, we had a non-response category in the special question. It looks like just 6% of that total didn't respond to at least the first question. So less than 10% of the firms did not respond.
Okay. All right. Great.
Okay, if that's everything, I'd like to thank you both for calling in to the July Business Outlook Survey press conference call.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Look for next month's survey at 10 a.m. on Thursday, August 15th, 2013.